Hi, this is Johnny Wimbrey, and I want to invite you to step into the Wealth Development Club with me. I'm committed to awakening your inner wealth and increasing your financial wealth at the exact same time. So stay focused and join me in the Wealth Development Club with your host, Johnny Wimbrey.
Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I am Ken Walls and I am your host. And listen to this, like for real. I'm literally sitting on the edge of my seat. Like this dude that I have on today is an international speaker, multi-millionaire. He's a multi-millionaire creator. He is a leader in I'm gonna let him tell you. He's international best-selling author. He's friends with the list is too long. I'm just going to let him tell you. I want to welcome my good friend, Johnny Wimbrey, to the show. Johnny, welcome to the show, man. You're muted.
Sorry about that. What up, man? Listen, I'm multitasking right now because I'm super excited about this interview, and I'm going live on my pages, on my phone, Instagram. I've never done this before. I'm taking you around the world, baby.
Dude, I'm excited, man. I saw it just popped up and said Wimbrey is live on Instagram too, man.
Look, man, I'm holding my phone, man. I'm doing it old school.
Old school.
What up, Instagram? They're chiming in from all over the world right now. They're showing you love. I'm live right now on the Ken Walls Show.
Dude,
this is your show, man. I don't want to take it over. I'm extremely honored and pleased to be on your show, man. I know we're broadcasting live through Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, just all over the world, brother.
Dude, this is awesome. So, as you know, man, I created this show. I know you came from a rough background. I came from a rough background. And I think, I've been very blessed in my life. And I see a lot of people that they get stuck, man. They don't know how to get unstuck. So that's what this is about. It's called Breakthrough Walls. It's a play on my last name. And I know you're all about having breakthroughs, man. So this is just like the perfect fit, quite frankly.
Absolutely. So, I'm actually producing a book right now called Breakthrough.
I know.
Featuring different authors from around the world. It's turning into a masterpiece. So the timing is perfect, my friend.
I love it, man. I love it. So let's start with telling the audience, who you are, where you were born and raised.
Absolutely, man. Listen. So my name is Johnny Wimbrey. I wrote the book From the Hood to Doing Good, and I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, born and raised on the east side of Fort Worth. And, to back it up just a little bit, my first memory in life was actually living in a battered women's shelter. So I lived in a battered women's shelter in San Jose, California. The government protected my mother, moved her and her three boys. I'm the youngest of three boys to San Jose. So, literally, my first memory in life was living in a battered women's shelter. I remember going up to a refrigerator door and basically, reaching my hand in to grab the milk. And I remember someone saying no. And,
Whoa.
As a kid being 3 years old, that's how I found out that we were in a shelter, because that milk belonged to another family. And, I just didn't understand. It's a refrigerator and I'm home. Why can't I have any? But we were in a shelter with other families, and that's how I found out. That's when the reality hit.
And that was at 3 years old.
Yeah. And it's amazing because it's very vivid in my head. Very vivid.
Now, how long were you in that place as a kid?
I started kindergarten in San Jose. I finished. Then we came back to Fort Worth, where I would meet my father for the first time. And this is where I realized, probably realized later in life, but the reality was bad husband doesn't mean bad father, because my father was the first stability that we've ever had in my life. He was a hard-working man. He was a trash man. And this is in Fort Worth, Texas. So I finished the first grade in Fort Worth, Texas, and my mom picks us up for the weekend. We would live with my dad. He had a lot more structure. And my mom would virtually take us back to San Jose without permission. And I would do the second grade there, and I failed the second grade. My brother failed the fourth grade. And, it was just really a lot of instability. And it was rough, man. It was rough. And after I finished the second grade for the first time, my mother put us on an airplane and sent us back to Texas. And she would be there in 3 weeks. I wouldn't see her for 3 years. So my father would raise me from that day forward. So when my mother showed back up, my brother Willie and I, who's 11 months older than I, we just basically decided to stay with my dad. I don't know why. We just felt that, he didn't really do anything to deserve to have us out of his life again. And we just had stability and we had structure. My older brother, Larry, who went to go live with my mother, ended up getting in a lot of trouble. He's serving 40 years in prison right now.
Oh.
And I say that to say this, I'm not better than him. I just didn't get caught. By the grace of God, there are a lot of things that I did as a teenager, having a felony arrest. As a matter of fact, I couldn't get a regular job when I turned my life around. When I was 18 years old at my homeboy's funeral, who was murdered, the night of the wake, which is the day before the funeral, we were invited. And I don't want to skip over this story so fast. I tell it so much. I want to get into the interview, but since I got into the story, I can't skip over it too much.
This is an important part.
Yeah. So at my homeboy's funeral, he was 18. I was 18 years old, and we all had guns that night, and we were going to retaliate after paying respect. And, crazy enough, my friend's mother stood before the casket and she said, "I forgive the young man who killed my son." And you got to realize, I was there to retaliate. And this is the most mature moment I had in my life. And a lot of times when I'm teaching, I'm coaching, and when I'm coaching individuals, I tell them, listen, you got to look for your moment. You got to hunt for your moment, almost like a sniper. When a sniper is out of position, they can miss, they put lives in jeopardy. So this was my moment, and for some reason I was paying attention. I was in position and I paid attention. And I had a moment, Ken, that said, I don't love him like his mother. So if the mother had already found forgiveness, who am I to seek revenge? And that was a really big moment for me. I got up and I gave my gun to the preacher. And I just basically said, I don't want to live this life anymore. And the very next day at the funeral, I would meet a young lady named Crystal, who now is my wife for over 20 years.
Wow.
I met her at right after the funeral. She was at the funeral.
Are you serious, man?
Yeah.
So
it's a movie.
I mean, for real. Okay. So I want to back up to that moment. You're 18 years old.
Yes, sir.
You're at the wake, right? Or the funeral.
We're at the wake when the mother, because we were invited to a private viewing, and it was probably a setup. It was a setup to make sure that all of his friends had a right mindset. And that night, when she said that, it just really hit me in my heart. That almost like I felt stupid. Like, who am I? Like, the mother has found forgiveness. I go get revenge, but the mom has found forgiveness. I just felt selfish. I felt out of place, and it was a God moment, and I just happened to be paying attention.
Wow, man. That's incredible. So it wasn't like, did you feel a shift though? Like a shift in your mindset just suddenly?
I did. But to be honest with you, I prayed that night because I've had that feeling before. And, I've been distracted from the feeling after the feeling. It's kind of like Zig Ziglar says, motivation is like a shower. You need it every day. And it worked. And I'd have those moments where, moments of clarity, moments of definition. But, I'm a teenager and I don't know what I don't know. I don't know anything about personal development at this point in my life. All I know is the streets. All I know is, what I had to go home to.
Yeah.
And I just remember that night I said, God, please send somebody in my life that can help me stay out of trouble. And in my mind, I'm thinking a mentor. I'm thinking somebody that I would listen to. My brother Willie, who's 11 months older than I am, he's an ordained minister. He's never been in trouble. He was a kid that made me look bad, and I'm the baby brother. And, and I knew that, I knew he had impact in my life, but I also knew that I wouldn't listen to him. And I did not know that it would come in the form of a young lady where I would begin to act different around her. And when I was around her family, I was like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I was that kid. I was really, really good at getting in trouble, and I was really, really, really good at not getting in trouble. And so I could talk my way out of stuff because I can get the teachers laughing and get, even police officers, I get them laughing and, oh, he's a good kid. And, they let me go. I was really good at that. But man, she really caused me to act different, to talk different, to walk different. And I literally began to act like I was somebody else around her, which ultimately showed me and exposed me to the reality that, there is a different world out there.
Wow, man. So you, wow. Okay, so you had this epiphany moment.
Yeah.
And you decided not to retaliate. You give your gun to the minister, the preacher, and what's he say? Like, thanks. I've been looking for one of these.
What's funny is he looked at me and he said, you're not getting this back, right? That's all I remember. He's like, you're not getting this back, right? I think he was proud of me. I think he had a moment, but it was more so, you're not getting this back, right?
Right.
Because, a lot of times people get caught up in the moment. They make decisions in the moment, but that moment doesn't last with them.
Right.
And I wanted that moment to last.
Right. So you, and then you said it was the next day that you met your wife.
Yeah, she would be at the funeral. She was sitting on the same row that I'm sitting on. And I remember some hot chicks. And I'm like, I don't know these girls. Where are they from? Well, my homeboy, we call him Mookie, who was murdered. We had a middle school teacher named Miss Crane, Mama and Pop Crane. They were the teachers that would just kind of keep you out of trouble, would go above and beyond. When school was out, we would hang out at their house. They would take us for pizza and movies. And he was a minister, so they would take him to church. I never went to church with them, but Mookie did. So Mookie knew her. I didn't know her. So Mookie had this different life that we didn't know about because he was wanting to get his life better.
Wow.
And he just got caught up. He got caught up.
Wow, man. So he knew her. And Crystal, right? That's your wife's
Crystal,
name, Crystal.
Yeah.
So he knew Crystal. And how do you, I don't mean, but how do you pick up a chick at a funeral, man?
It was, okay, so nobody ever gets this story out of me, so I'm going to give it to you. So we went, after the funeral, after we went to the gravesite, all the youth went back to Miss Crane's house, Mama and Pop Crane's house, for a counseling session where the ministers were there, and they just kind of had a counseling session with us. And Crystal walked in with one of her friends, and I remember, I'm on a piano playing that song, Chopsticks, and two people can play it at the same time. So I'm playing it. And I'm like, does anybody else know how to play the other side of the song? And she says, I do. So she comes over there and sits next to me and she jacks the song up. But that's how we met.
You said she jacked the song up.
Yeah.
Hopefully she's not watching.
Oh, no, she knows.
So that's how you met. And then so suddenly you found yourself probably with someone that you never imagined being with somebody like that.
Yeah, I knew in my heart that I would not end up with a girl that was where I'm from. I just knew that. And when I met her, she was just somebody different, and, at Miss Crane's house, I kind of I could tell she was into me. And where I'm from, a girl's into you, I'm going to test it, to see, how real she is. And I remember we're walking out of the house and I slapped her on the ass.
Oh,
and this is what did it for me. She turned around at me and she said, "Don't you ever disrespect me again." And I was like, "Ooh, this is my wife."
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, man, that's freaking awesome. Actually, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Johnny, you so you were at this point though. You were still kind of I don't know how else to put it. You were kind of still in that thuggish kind of mindset, right? What happened though at that point? Because at some point, dude, you didn't just go, okay, I found her. My homeboy was murdered. I was, you didn't just go, all right, I'm going to be an international rock star now, right?
When I met her, I was a rapper.
Really?
Yeah. And And everything that I always did had to do with making money. Like, when I was in the streets, I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing.
Right.
And, in the community, I'm basically a part of the major issue in the community. I would, sell weapons at school, sell drugs on the streets. And, I'm 15, 16 years old and I'm becoming a product of my environment.
Yeah.
And, when I met her, I have never in my life, even, being on welfare, sitting on a kitchen floor and praying, God is great. God is good. Let us thank us for this food. And, we're mixing, water and powder together just to make milk.
Yeah.
Our peanut butter wasn't like everybody else's peanut butter. Our cheese wasn't like everybody else's cheese. Everybody's eating Cheerios. We're eating this big old clear bag of Cheerios that didn't have a label on it. That was part of our life and, still being grateful. And even going through all that, even with everything that I've ever been through, Ken, I don't remember a moment in my life ever entertaining that I would not be successful.
Wow.
I have never, ever entertained in my brain that I would not be successful. I always knew I would be successful. But the crazy thing is I didn't know what I didn't know. All I knew was my environment. So, when I was rapping, I wasn't rapping to be famous. I was rapping to be successful. When I finished high school, I went to an acting school. So I got an associate's degree of acting and theater right now. So camera, on air techniques and acting and all that stuff. I just knew that I knew I was a personality. I just didn't know what I didn't know. And everything, even going to acting school, it had nothing to do with being famous. I had an agent my first semester in acting school. Nobody else in my class had an agent. And so I'm starting to audition and do commercials and things like that. And it had everything to do with making residual income. And so everything that I was doing from that point on was preparing to take care of her, to take care of Crystal. I've never entertained the fact that she would ever have a job. So I've always had the mindset that she would always have the option.
Yeah.
So when I was 20 years old, I finished acting school. I became a temporary licensed insurance agent. I sold health and life insurance. In the state of Texas, you can get a temporary license. And right at the 90-day mark, you have to get your official license. Within 90 days, I became one of the top 50 producers in the United States. And the crazy thing is I had no idea what I was doing. I just copied my manager. I did exactly what he said. I said exactly what he said. And I always tell people, man, if you're coachable and trainable and teachable, you'll be unstoppable. It's not about being educated. It's about being coachable. And so it came time for me to have to take the license to get my insurance test. And I took it. I failed it the first time. I came back the next week, took it again. I made a 69. You have to make a 70. So I remember going back and studying 4 questions that I didn't know just so I could make over a 70. So I made a 72 when I passed. I got my license. I sent it into the state of Texas. I got a letter in the mail that said, we're sorry to inform you, but you can't represent the state of Texas because you have a felony arrest.
Oh.
So here I am, wanting to get my life right. I'm busting my ass to get life right. I'm 20 years old. I just turned 21 and I'm getting denied. And there's a side of me that had a moment, where I had to make a decision. Either I can get bitter or I can get better. I could become the victim or I could become the victor. And there was a side of me that said, you know what? Screw the system. I'm going back to the streets. They don't want to give me another chance. I don't need them. And there's another side of me that said, you know what? You weren't a punk in the streets. You weren't weak in the streets. Why do you want to be weak right now? The number one reason that people aren't successful is because they're afraid to take risk. My entire life was a risk. I was on the corner. Every moment of my life was a risk. So I brought that risk factor into the business world that turned me into a millionaire. But I remember calling the courthouse in Fort Worth. And I called the judge, and I knew that he knew my uncle because me and my uncle had the same name, Johnny Wimbrey.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I talked to the clerk, and I said, will you have the judge please write a letter on my behalf? I'm really working to change my life around. Can you just write a letter that says, give this kid another chance? Give them another chance.
Wow.
And that doesn't really mean anything. The state of Texas doesn't have to pay attention to that. I sent this letter in, and I can't even tell you why I came up with that idea. I just knew that I needed something. I needed a bigger voice that just said, man, give this guy a chance. He's really wanting to turn his life around. And I sent the letter in. And wow. 2 weeks later, a letter comes in the mail from the state of Texas, and I open it up. My license is in it. They didn't say it wasn't a letter. It wasn't anything. It was just my license.
It was your insurance license?
Yeah. And
dude.
And it taught me something. And I teach all of my clients around the world that listen, you have to participate in your rescue. You know, you can declare whatever you want. You can write as many declarations. You can come up as, with as many, you repeating declarations and, I'm the head and not the tail. Faith without work is dead. And I had to put the work in. I prayed, but you got to get off your knees to go to work, right? Yep. So number one thing that I tell people, I've got people in my life, and when you introduce me, the best thing that one of my biggest attributes that I love is not the fact that I've made millions, but I've created millionaires. Yeah. I've met people who had worse lives than I have that are millionaires today because they were just coachable. And I worked with them for 2 or 3 years, and and because of what they did. They participated in the rescue. So if you don't get anything else out of this interview, you got to participate in your own rescue.
I got to ask you this, though, man, because I think, you said something, and I actually wrote it down. You said that you always knew you were going to be successful. Here's the thing. That, for most people, is not an innate ability. Like, it's not built in. Like you're like, how, think about all the people out there out of 7.5 billion people on this planet that don't have that have the self-doubt, that have they don't have that built in. I kind of feel the same way about myself a little bit, but I've had some self-doubt along the way when you hit a failure. Like when they say, sorry, we don't allow felons to have an insurance license in Texas. Did you not feel it? How do you overcome the self-doubt? How do you get to that place? Or is it just something you're born with and you're just lucky?
You're either going to get pissed off or you're going to allow it to piss you on.
I love it.
So here's the deal. I could get pissed off. I know how to get pissed off.
Right.
I didn't know how for it to turn me on. See, there are things that happen in your life, and the bottom line is it's not necessarily what happens in your life. It's what you allow to happen in you when it happens to you. And I just didn't want to let that to happen inside me. I've been rejected before. I know how to kick through doors. I know how to, make things happen. I know, I know how to get to where I need to be against adversity. That was my entire life. So it's not about the fact that I never entertained not being successful. It was about me being able to tap into the characteristics of what successful people do. And here's the deal. You show me anybody who's successful at one thing, I can show you how to be successful at all things. It's the exact same energy. It's the exact same mindset. So here it is. You show me somebody who's successful at being at work every day on time. Show me a single mother who's successful at getting 3 kids dressed every morning to get to school on time. Every morning. Yeah. That's success. Yeah. So if you could be successful in that area, you could be successful in any area. The problem is we entertain obstacles when it comes to financial success, but we don't entertain the obstacles when it comes to getting your kids to school on time because you see that as something that you must do. So you want to be successful, but you must get the kids to school on time. You see the difference?
Yep.
If you could turn your wants into a must, it's not that I want to be successful. I must be successful. I got to leave an inheritance for my children's children. It was nothing that I ever entertained not being able to do. So if we're successfully videoing right now, we're successfully live in your studio. We're successfully live in my studio. If I'm successful at one thing, I can be successful at all things. All I have to do is transfer the exact same energy over to a new area.
I recently posted something on Facebook in that regard. It was like, instead of having I wants, make them I must haves.
Absolutely. And I talk about that in my book.
Oh,
and, Yeah, my book, From the Hood to Doing Good, there's
Oh,
a whole
yeah.
chapter, how do you turn your wants into a must? And it's
Yeah.
a mindset. It's an attitude. People don't say, I want to pay my taxes. They say, I got to pay my taxes. I must pay
Right.
my taxes.
Right.
And typically the reason that people will attach a must to something they have to do, it's because of negative consequence. I must pay my taxes or I go to jail.
Right.
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 So if you can attach it to something that's bigger than just a want, I must be successful so I can leave an inheritance for my children's children. That's something I must do. It's not even an option.
Right, right. So that's the shift. That's how you get that. That's how you get that mindset that you were talking about, that you always knew, because you took your wants and made them have
Must.
tos. Must.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to do it.
I love
Gotta
it.
do it.
I love it. So my wife's on here. She said, "From the hood to doing good, a must read." I agree 1,000%. So here you are, 18 years old, 19 years old, met the love of your life, and you start on your journey.
Yeah.
What happened next along the way? What did you start doing?
So I sold health and life insurance, and probably until the point where I was 23 years old,
Okay.
I started selling home security systems at the exact same time. And, when I was selling health and life insurance, I ended up getting a contract and moving up on my contract to the point where I was a regional marketing director, which basically meant I had I was actually regional vice president. And so I started recruiting for the state of Texas and Oklahoma for traditional health and life insurance. And so my job was to recruit and to find other agents and, mass mailings and things like that. The company would pay for it, but I would interview them and recruit them over the phone and get them started. So I ended up taking the attention off what I was really good at, which was producing. I didn't really know how to manage people, but I knew how to produce. I knew how to recruit, but I didn't know how to produce. I mean, I know how to produce, but I got into the mindset of, recruiting. And so I ended up training and being the voice and motivating other agents. And I ended up going in debt because I stopped producing and I became the motivational, recruiting agent, which was good, but I didn't know how to get them to produce. I knew how to get me to produce. So long story short, I got involved with multi-level marketing when I was 25 years old. Okay. And I was the guy who said I would never do it. I was the guy, you give me 20 reasons to join your company, I would give you 20 reasons why you need to quit. And I was really good at it. And because I was repeating what my boss said.
Right.
And remember, I'm coachable, right? So my boss said, stay focused and don't get distracted. Well, not getting distracted, I ended up being $50,000 in debt at the age of 25. So I'm double my age in debt. Jeez. So I got involved with network marketing. Got super excited about it. I started doing presentations and meetings in my insurance office, and my boss made a deal with me. If I didn't quit, he'd let me use the office at night to do presentations. Well, I ended up recruiting his boss, and it just kind of took a life of its own. And I kind of fell in love with the network marketing concept because I could really help people become successful. And I've made millions in the network marketing industry, which took me into the speaking industry where I've made millions as a speaker as well.
Good Lord, man. And to think you're only like 28. I'm just kidding.
43 now. That was wow. That was about 18 years ago.
Wow, man. That's incredible though.
That's crazy.
So the network marketing company, so you ended up getting into it, the network marketing. And you've always been in it? Same company, or have you had? No. The first company I was ever in only lasted 10 months after I joined. But at that point, I got the taste. I got the taste in my mouth. And so I joined another company and then another company. Yeah. And right around my third or fourth company, I got so frustrated that I said, you know what, I'm going to be a voice to the network marketing industry instead of being a distributor. I didn't trust anybody. I didn't know what owners I could trust. Yeah. And I just basically got to the point where I said, if I'm going to put all my energy into anything, I'm going to put my energy into me, because if I let me down, I can deal with that. Right. When other people let me down, it's a very tough blow. And so I started branding myself, started speaking all over the world. I got connected with Les Brown, and Les Brown took me under his wing as his protege. And, to this day, Les will tell you
that, his most successful student that he's ever worked with is me. And, I get calls and emails from all over the world saying, Les is talking about you on stage right now. And I just really learned the industry of speaking. There are a lot of voices that are out there that are great speakers, but they don't understand the business of speaking. Les Brown taught me the business of speaking. And, since I've met Les Brown, that was probably 28, 29 years old. I've made over $43 million since I've met Les Brown. If I combining the speaking industry as well as the personal development world and the network marketing world, while I'm talking to you right now, I have over 100,000 distributors and customers around the world in over 34 countries, and that creates residual income, and that's what I teach people to do, man. I teach people how to own their life. When I meet somebody who says, Johnny, I want to be a professional speaker, well, I've invested over $100,000 into my life as a professional speaker. I've invested well over $100,000 into personal development and seminars and learning how to become a leader.
Yep.
So people tell me that the first thing I ask them is, well, how much are you willing to invest to participate in what you say you want?
Right. And so
that's how you get rich real fast.
What's the saying? There's no such thing as a free lunch. I mean, you can get stuff for free, but that's not going to build success.
Yeah. And you know what? When people want to do things for me for free, I don't trust it because I've spent so much money investing.
Right.
Les Brown never gave me anything for free.
Right.
He made me invest. As a matter of fact, I met him one day in Dallas and I went to his hotel room and we were just talking and he was mentoring me and he said, and he knew I was serious about becoming a speaker. And he said, well, why don't you join my speakers network? And he said, it's $10,000. And I said, well, I don't have that. He said, you come up with half of that before tonight. I'll put you on stage tonight. I'm like, what?
Snap. Wow.
So I left him and I was excited and depressed at the exact same time because number one, I don't ask anybody for money. I just don't. That's not me.
Right.
And I remember having to call my stepmother and I said, Joyce, there's a famous speaker in town and his name is Les Brown. And he said that if I can come up with half of his fee to join his network, he'll put me on stage tonight. And I said, if he puts me on stage tonight, my life will never be the same. I know what I'm capable of doing. And she said, where are you? And I said, I'm driving home. And she said, come by my work. I'll give you $2,500. So one phone call. Remember, you got to participate in your rescue.
That's right.
And that was and that was one of the hardest phone calls I've ever made in my life because I'm independent. I've never asked anybody for anything. And I hung up the phone and my homeboy Tony calls me. My homeboy Tony from, back when we were in the streets. And now he owns a construction company. He's turned his life around. He's doing well. He calls me and I say, hey, what up, Tony? He said, hey, man, where you at? I said, listen, man, let me call you back. I need to come up with $2,500. I'm going to get on stage tonight with Les Brown. And I didn't even know he knew who Les Brown was. Right. He said, Les Brown, the motivational speaker? I said, yeah, how do you know who he is? He was just speaking at my church the other day in Dallas. I said, yeah, that Les Brown. He said, where are you? And it's hard for me to talk about because he said, where are you? And I said, I'm driving down this freeway. I'm headed home. And he said, meet me at the gas station. And before I can get to my mother's job, my stepmother's job, I already collected $2,500. So I showed up that night and I gave him $5,000 cash and he put me on stage. Wow. And you got to he only put me on stage for like 5 or 10 minutes. I ended up selling more product than Les Brown that night.
Wow.
And my life has never been the same. And you got to ask yourself, did Les Brown need my money? No. Yeah. He was forcing me to participate in my own rescue.
Yep.
So when I'm coaching people and I'm talking to people, I can demand certain things out of them from a certain level of authority because I had to do it too. So I have a speaker's training course. If you're watching this right now and you want to become a professional speaker, reach out to me. Go to Wimbrey.com. I want to help. I'm having so much fun right now, Ken.
Yeah.
helping other people establish what I've established. I'm having more fun duplicating myself than I am of elevating myself.
Dude,
I wasn't.
and that's, I got to say this about you because I just recently got to know you. You're a client of mine. I'm
Yes.
gonna plug myself, but you're
Absolutely.
and you've become a good friend of mine. And I don't think that just one time, I think you were walking on stage in Vegas. I tried to call you and you sent me to voicemail. It's the only time you've never answered my call. I was like,
I was in front of
don't
10,000
care, man.
people
Take
about
me
to go
on
on.
stage with you. You're like, I charge $5,000 for that.
Yeah. So yeah, I was on stage in Vegas, and now I'm getting ready to go to Florence, Italy this week to be on stage in front of a few thousand people, entrepreneurs. I'm speaking at GoPro with Eric Worre December, and I just had another offer for Mexico City. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to take it. And I had an offer to go to Nigeria as well. A lot of things are happening right now, and you know what's really cool is there are times where I'm sending my speakers to go speak on my behalf because I can't make it.
Wow. Dude,
That's
so
exciting
awesome.
for me, man. It's really exciting.
That's so awesome. So, you are like, you're the epitome of real success. Take all the money away. Take what is that white car you're driving around? Is that a Maserati?
Yeah, I have a Maserati.
Yeah. Yeah. Take away all of the money, the stuff, and
we drive matching cars. She has the Bentley version. I have the Maserati.
why does she get the Bentley?
Yeah, white. It's a white with a black top. Both
That's
of them are
right.
white with a red interior.
I saw it. It's beautiful, beautiful. And your wife is absolutely stunning. My wife and I were looking through your stuff. I was creating the promo stuff for the show last night, so I'm like stalking all your Facebook pictures and stuff. And like, I don't even know how many times you've been on Steve Harvey's show, but let's talk about that a little bit. Like, dude, when did that happen and how?
So, you know what? I think the first time I was on his show is because of the white Bentley.
Oh, for real?
I kind of pranked my wife for, I think it was Valentine's Day or Mother's. I think it was Valentine's Day. I pranked her, and I got her an Escalade, which she's always had an Escalade. I just upgraded it.
Yeah.
And she thought that was her gift, and it really wasn't. So after I showed her the Escalade, she was excited, but she kind of expected it. Because I replaced the Escalade maybe every 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's probably her fifth one, so it was a gag gift. And a platinum Escalade was a gag gift.
A gag gift.
Right.
Wow.
So then I open up the garage, and I'm videoing this, I'm documenting it, and I open up the garage, and it's a convertible Bentley right in front of her, and she freaks out. Like, she's in her like scarf, and it's early in the morning, the kids are there, and she freaks out. And that video went viral.
Wow.
And I remember when I interviewed with the producers of the Steve Harvey show, they brought up the Bentley. So I'm like, how do you guys know about that? So that's how we found you. That video went viral.
Wow. Are you serious?
That was my first time on the show. And we did the How to Become a Millionaire segment.
Yep.
And I was back on the show again, working with some knuckleheads having problems in school. And typically, there's a lot of stuff that's out there where I'm featured on other people's show as a guest, as a guest appearance and or a guest authority on somebody else's show.
Yeah.
And last week in Hollywood, nobody knows this yet. I guess they're about to know. I flew in for a one-day trip. I didn't even take any bags. I flew into LA, had some pretty big production meetings, and prayerfully, we'll be talking about my own show very soon that we're working on right now.
Dude, that is incredible. Wow.
Thank you.
But nothing, I mean, nothing compares to being on Ken Wall's show. Let's just get real.
Yeah. This is the highlight, baby. This is the highlight. I'm super excited right now in my life. I've shared the stage with Les Brown, Jim Rohn, late great, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Dr. John Gray, and now I get to say that I have been on the Ken Wall show. This is a peak level experience in my life, and I'm honored to be here.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. No, so dude, you've done, and I've been, look, you already know, I've been blowing you up on Instagram and Facebook. I've been really, really excited about this, dude, because I know your story. I know the backstory. I know what you've been through, and there's nothing I love more at all than, and it's like everybody else, man. Everybody loves a comeback story.
Everybody, yeah.
Everybody loves a comeback story, and you've done it, man, and you're continuing to do it. And when I said you're the epitome of success, what I mean by that truly is if you take away all the stuff, you take away all the toys, the money, the cars, everything, deep down inside of Johnny Wimbrey at the heart level, you're just a good dude that likes to help other people.
Thank you. That means a lot to me that you would figure that out about me so fast, in such a short, friendship. And to me, I'm doing collaboration books right now, and the whole idea about these books is to feature other people who have strong stories that would never be heard. So I'm using my platform to launch the platform of the next voices that are going to be coming up in the personal development world. And, if you're watching this right now, and if you've ever thought about becoming a best-selling author, if you ever wanted to be an author, I'm working with books right now, and I'm looking for authors for 2019. Go to costarauthor.com. www.costarauthor.com. Look at that page, answer the questions, and my office will call to interview in the next 24 hours. We've had people in the last 4 months, from around the world that will have a professional book in their hand before Christmas because we interviewed them this past summer. And the thing is, listen, if I'm telling you that I can make you a best-selling author, if I'm telling you I can catapult your voice to the world, your story to the world, we have ghostwriters, we have professional line editors, book designers. We do everything from start to finish. We do it all at Wimbrey Training Systems here in my offices. And I'm telling you I can help you.
Yep.
And you're still saying, well, what if it doesn't work? Or maybe it's not for me. Listen, you have to participate in your rescue. I mean, you'd be amazed on how many people who have told me, Johnny, I want to become a speaker. I have a story to tell. Well, here's the deal. There's so many speakers that are out there. But when you become a published author, that's a glorified business card that gets you through doors that your voice can't get you. See, when I walk in and I say, hey, I'm Johnny Wimbrey, I would love to speak for your company. This puts me at the head of any other speaker that came in before me that's not a speaker, that's not an author. Why? Because it shows that I've invested in who I say I am.
Right.
So, you may not have $30,000 to produce, a top quality book, but I can show you how to do that for the fraction of a cost by co-authoring a book with me. So I'm helping people elevate themselves and launch their platform by simply helping them become a published author, walking them from the first sentence down to the last sentence and helping them create a masterpiece type chapter. So again, costarauthor.com, costarauthor.com. Go there right now. I mean, I don't really know how to put the emphasis on the fact that you gotta get from the place of just talking about what you want to do and participating in what you say you want in life.
I love it, man. I freaking love it. So, and don't go there right now. Go there after the show's over.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be we don't close shop. We're looking for 2019. We're starting the interviews right now.
That's right. So listen, back to the part about getting unstuck, hitting the wall and not being able to get through it. If somebody let me ask this first. What do you think the number one thing is that keeps people stuck in the muck and they can't get out and they can't figure it out and they can't succeed in life?
Belief. It's literally belief. Believing that you don't deserve it. Like the only reason that you wouldn't take a step is because you counted yourself out. And here's what I want you to know. Until you count yourself in, you'll never elevate in life. My core message is increase. You've got to increase mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and you've got to participate and you got to have belief in yourself that you deserve it. I mean, look at me, young punk kid from the hood, earliest memory in life, living in a battered women's shelter, went through a lot of hell in life, failed the second grade, had a felony arrest as a teenager, couldn't get a regular job because I had a felony arrest. But The bottom line is, listen, William Ward said something that changed my life forever. William Ward said, adversity causes some people to break, but it causes others to become record breakers. The only reason that you would become stuck is because you park. The worst thing you can do in the midst of hell is park. You got to keep moving. You got to get out of hell. Don't park in hell.
Wow,
People
man.
become stuck. You become stuck because the lack of belief in you. And I can convince you in 5 minutes you were born to win. And once you subscribe to the possibilities that you were born to win, you'll start moving. You'll get out. You'll get unstuck.
I love it, man. I freaking love it. So Wimbrey.com is where everybody can follow you. But my last, and this is my final real question for you. And
Yes,
I
sir.
ask everybody I have on the show this same exact question. I've been through, and a lot of it's my own fault. I'm a recovered alcoholic, 16 years sober, man.
Congratulations.
I had a really tumultuous life prior to getting sober.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you, man. But so,
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that. So my thing is this though, man. Like, if somebody called you, got a hold of you, and said, Johnny, man, I don't know what to do. My electric's being shut off tomorrow. My car was repossessed last week. My wife's leaving me. My dog died. Everything's going wrong in life, man. I just don't know what to do. What is the first thing you're going to say to them to help get them over that hump and into the game?
I'd say go write a really good country song. I'm just kidding. Listen.
And play it backwards. They all come
Right,
back.
play it backwards. Get them all back. So here's the deal. Life happens. It happens to all of us. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Life is going to throw you a curveball. The problem is you weren't prepared for it. Les Brown taught me it's better to be prepared and not called than it is to be called and not prepared. Most people will wait for life to hit them against the face and slam them against the wall before they get prepared. So if you're listening to me right now, if that hasn't happened to you yet, preparation is key. You've got to have a mentor. You got to have people in your life that can mentor you. I have mentoring programs that I prepare people for the good, the bad, and the ugly. But here's the thing. You're not unique. It happens to us all. You've got to surround yourself around the thinking that outthinks you. Let me repeat that. You have to surround yourself around the thinking that outthinks you. The worst thing that you can do while you're going through hell is to be subject to your own thinking. Professor Einstein says the thinking that gets you into a situation doesn't possess the thinking to get you out. Let me repeat it. The thinking that gets you into the situation doesn't possess the thinking to get you out. So if you find yourself what I would call in the midst of hell, you probably have stopped. So it feels like hell is compounding up against you. But the reality is you're only listening to you. I feel sorry for people who are only subject to their own thinking. I don't even trust my own thinking. I surround myself around the thinking that outthinks me. So when I find myself in a situation of adversity, I'm not going to be there long because I have other voices that are uplifting me and empowering me to get out of the situation.
And that okay, so you said earlier you've made $43 million as a speaker.
Since I met Les Brown.
What's that? Since you met Les Brown. And you don't trust your own thinking when you're in the midst of hell. I love it, dude.
Here's what I mean by that. It's my thinking that got me there.
Right.
So why would I trust my thinking to get me out?
Right. I love it, man. I
like cheating. And cheating is borrowing other people's thinking.
Right.
Like, why would I submit myself to my own thinking if I want to catapult my life? And catapulting my life means I got to surround myself around people who outthink me.
I love it, man. I love it. What are some last final words you want to spit out to everybody? Just blow them up, man. Get them fired up.
I would say this, adversity causes some people to break. It causes others to become record breakers. That's William Ward, right?
Yep.
You do not, and I want you to hear what I'm about to say. never consult your past to determine your future. Where you come from doesn't have to dictate where you're going. When you consult your past to determine your future, you'll find yourself entertaining obstacles instead of opportunities. Whatever you focus on expands. We hear this all the time, right? The Bible says that as a man thinks in their heart, as they think in their heart, so are they. That's what you become. Your character is being developed by your thinking, right? So if you find yourself entertaining more obstacles than opportunities, that's why you're attracting more obstacles, because whatever you are focused on, it's going to expand. If I can get you to the place where you are focused on more opportunities than you are obstacles, that's increase. In every area of your life, you deserve increase. And increase is not a gigantic step. It's just a step forward. Increase is just not taking a step backwards. It's refusing to stay still. And here's what I tell people. Staying still is moving backwards. Because if one person in the world advances and you didn't, that means you're behind them now. That means you went backwards. So if you just create a lifestyle of perpetual increase, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if you think about what you went through, conquering alcoholism. If you think about what you went through, it's a progressive step. You didn't get there overnight. You're not going to get out overnight, but you can flip the switch and start the process right now. Most people won't start the process because they want to get out overnight. Well, you didn't get there overnight.
I can remember back when I first got sober. I mean, dude, and I'm not breaking anonymity because he's public about it, but Eric Clapton, the famous guitar player, I'm in the Columbus, Ohio area. The dude was going to meetings around here.
Wow.
Guy's worth what, $600-700 million and sitting in meetings dressed like a bum so nobody'd recognize him, right? So but I can remember seeing these people having these friends that are driving the Bentleys, that are driving the Ferraris, the Mercedes, the everything, going to AA meetings, and I remember thinking, I want that right now. I deserve that right now. I want that now. I want $43 million now. I don't want to have to work for 20 years for that. Give me what's mine, right?
Right.
So most people know that's not reality. So they don't, you're exactly right. They don't do what you're talking about. They don't take that first step.
And anytime you entertain the obstacles, that's what you're going to produce. And if you think that time is an obstacle, if you think that, the process of working your ass off to get what you want is an obstacle, you're always going to see it as an obstacle. And here's the thing. I look at time. If I got to bust my ass for 36 months of my life to change my life forever, that's way better than working for somebody else for 40 years, hoping one day I'll retire with the watch and get half the money that I couldn't live on anyway.
Dude, you've spit so much gold that you could break down the freaking Federal Reserve with this stuff, man. This is insane. So listen, Johnny, I know your time is incredibly valuable. I'm so grateful that you took the time to come on the show. Man, you've lit this show on fire, man. Seriously.
Thank you, man. This is my first time on your show.
First time, that's right.
Which means we're going to do it again and again and again.
Dude,
I appreciate you, man. And I want to have you on my show.
We just need to do a show where I'm the devil's advocate and you're just motivating me.
I love those kind of atmospheres, man. I love those kind of atmospheres. It's been an honor and a pleasure, brother. Continue to do what you do. I definitely want you on my show on the Wealth Development Club.
Awesome.
We do interviews and, we can break some stuff down. And thank you what you're doing for me. Me and my offices right now with your professional services. I greatly appreciate you.
Thank you.
And it just goes to show, guys, and here's the bottom line. If you aren't investing in what you say you want in life, you're lying to you.
Oh.
And the worst thing you can do is lie to you. When you lie to you, the enemy is enemy. It's inside me. When I lie to myself, when Johnny Wimbrey lies to himself, the enemy is in me. It's inside me. It's inner me.
Wow.
Don't lie to you. Don't lie to you. You can't say you want something and then not participate in what you say you want.
Dude, that just like you can't even talk without spitting gold. It's insane. Like
It's in me though. It can't come out if it's not in there.
I know, but like you can't even like have a normal conversation without spitting freaking gold, man. It's just like boom, boom, boom. Look out, here comes another gold nugget. That is so true, man. I want to say this to everybody because I've been seeing it pop up on Facebook. Thank you to everybody who shared this out. One thing you'll find about success from me, from Johnny, who you've reached some levels I hope to get to. But like, most successful people are givers. They love to share with other people.
100%.
Thank you to everyone who shared this out, man. That's so powerful. Johnny, Thank you so much, man. Let's do this again.
Thank you.
Very, very soon. Maybe I should be in Italy with you. I don't know. But,
bring it. I dare you. Hey, listen, so we're live on Instagram right now. People are tuning in from all over the world. I don't think I've ever had an interview where I held my phone the entire time.
Wow.
But I wanted to get this out to my database as well. Guys, this is Ken Walls. Research him. Check him out. Breaking Through Walls with Ken. This is what we do, baby. We empower people for life. Again, if you want to become a published author, go to CoStarAuthor.com. CoStarAuthor.com. If you want to become a speaker, go to SpeakForCash.com. I'll tell you and show you and teach you how to turn your words into wealth.
Wow. So awesome. Thank you. Appreciate everybody on your Instagram. Tell them all to follow
showing
me.
You love, man. They're showing you love right now from all
Real
over
Ken
the place.
Walls. Follow me. So listen, thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you to everybody on Facebook. And Johnny, have an unbelievable day, man. Thank you.
Brother. I look forward to cracking the code together and reaching new heights of wealth we've never seen before. You and I will do that together, brother.
All right. Thanks, bro. Guys,
God
have
bless
a great
you,
day.
Love to the family.
All right. Same to yours, man.
All right, brother.